Louisville community members gathered today for a vigil and a march in solidarity for Sonia Massie, the Illinois mother who was shot and killed in her Springfield home by police on July 6th. Authorities say that night the officers were at her home after Massie had called 911 to report a prowler. WHAS11's Alexandra Goldberg and photojournalist Aspen Hester spoke with activists in downtown Louisville and have their call to action.
A somber room. About 50 activists gathered in downtown Louisville in mourning.
And it happened again. It's heart-wrenching. It's actually tragic. It has to stop.
Can I hear you say trust black women?
Sunday, cities across the nation organized in solidarity for Sonia Massie, the 36-year-old mother who was shot and killed by Illinois police earlier this month.
Until people look at why the lives of black women are undervalued in America, we will continue to be here again and again and again.
After the vigil and prayers,
In Jesus' name that I pray, amen.
community members took to Injustice Square for a march.
Came out here for one thing, and that was change, and that was justice.
Body-worn camera footage released last week shows the moment police shot Massie in her home near Springfield. Activists had a call to action.
Vote. Vote. And then we'll really see that it'll really make change. Don't think that your vote doesn't matter. All votes matter. That's why they say vote.
In downtown Louisville, Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS 11 on your side.
The sheriff deputy who shot Massie was charged with first-degree murder last week and was fired from the sheriff's department. Representative Morgan McGarvey of Louisville released a statement on Thursday saying, in part, quote, "Black Americans are disproportionately profiled, targeted, and killed by police, and Sonia Massie's death is another heartbreaking reminder that we need real justice and reform," end quote. LMPD is asking for the public's help in locating the weapon they believe was used in a murder Friday night. Police have arrested Patrick Anderson in connection with the shooting that happened in PRP. Officers found a man shot inside a car near Greenwood Elementary School. Now police believe Anderson may have tossed out the weapon used while leaving the scene. Officers say it could be in a bush or in someone's yard around the area. Police say if you see the firearm, do not touch it and call 911 immediately. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear continued stumping for Vice President Kamala Harris in Atlanta today. He was joined by a Kentuckian who helped him get elected, Hadley Duvall.
I've traveled my state with Governor Beshear, across my country with Team Harris, and right here in Georgia, fighting for women and girls to get our reproductive rights back.
Duvall was featured in a campaign ad for Beshear criticizing Kentucky's strict abortion ban. She previously campaigned for Biden in Pennsylvania when he was still the presumptive nominee. Now she's joining Beshear to campaign for Harris in battleground state of Georgia. Beshear again today going full campaign mode in his speech.
So let me ask you, are you ready to do the work? Are you ready to knock the doors? Are you ready to make the phone calls? Are you ready to vote? Are you ready to beat Donald Trump? Are you ready to beat J.D. Vance? Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris President of the United States of America? God bless. Thank you all. Let's win this race.
The governor is still being vetted as a candidate for vice president by Harris's team, and this whole weekend has felt like a big audition for the job. Hours before headlining this campaign event in Atlanta today, Beshear was in Des Moines, Iowa. A keynote speaker for the Iowa Democrats yesterday, he took jabs at former President Donald Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance. WHAS 11 senior reporter Isaiah Kim Martinez and senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton are reporting in Iowa, where voters say they saw a vice presidential candidate last night.
Iowans have seen many big-time politicians, presidents, vice presidents. They know when they see a star, and they're not convinced easily. So when Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear stepped onto the stage in front of a sold-out crowd here in Des Moines, he knew he had to bring his A game to resonate with them.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear in campaign form in Iowa, touting the very win that put him on the national radar.
If you don't know me, I'm the guy who beat Mitch McConnell's hand-picked candidate last November in Kentucky.
How would he connect with folks outside the bluegrass state?
I'm the guy that beat Donald Trump's hand-picked candidate.
Do you believe he stacks up after hearing this?
I told my friends, I actually have a group chat with some friends of mine, and we've been talking about it, and I'd earlier penciled him as like the person that I would like to see, but I didn't think was going to happen. And I told them tonight, I was like, he's moved up on my power list. He's at the top of my power rankings.
This was one of the moments that brought 450 Iowa Democrats to their feet at an annual fundraiser.
As governor, I have vetoed every single piece of anti-LGBTQ plus legislation that our legislature has tried to pass.
He gave substance in our private conversation today, which touched my heart, and you take that and you take it to the voters because that's what they want. They're tired of all the craziness. They want something with substance.
And he was giving us a message that we've tried giving to our children, but he was putting it with more power behind it to stimulate your young people, the generation that was here.
Iowans saw a man campaigning on behalf of Vice President Kamala Harris, who's vetting potential candidates to be her running mate, including Beshear.
I like him. I think it would make a good VP pick, to be very honest. Because
over some of the others?
Over some of the others, yeah.
At the podium, Beshear taking just 3 minutes to mention former President Donald Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance.
He said it was weird that I attacked, and this is in his words, his quote, origin story. Batman has an origin story. Fictional characters have an origin story. Real people have childhoods.
My exclusive interview with the governor in Des Moines, moments before he delivered his remarks. J.D. Vance, you mentioned the senator. If y'all were on a debate stage, who would win?
I would, every day, all day. I mean, listen, I'm a person of real conviction. I'm a person who believes what he says, and I care deeply about our people in Kentucky. This is somebody who exploited us, who used to come for weddings or funerals or a couple weeks during the summer to see his kin, and I respect that. But to claim that you know our culture and then to insult our people is just wrong.
Beshear, described by the New York Times as an amiable attack dog from Kentucky, did show Iowans the tone of voice Kentuckians are used to. 94-year-old lifelong Iowan, Mary Campos Dominguez, getting some one-on-one time with him.
That he was being very honest and sincere, that he was being very forward with what he was thinking, and he was not pretentious. He was not pretending to be somebody that he wasn't. He was just a normal human being.
In his address, Beshear talked about his kids and the conversation he had with the vice president soon after President Biden bowed out of the race.
I was sitting at my son's baseball game. It's just me and a couple hundred parents when that news broke that day. And the first thing she asked, listen, she was just thrust into likely being our candidate for president, and the first thing she asked is how my kids were doing.
Governor, you said that the vice president knows Will and Lila by name. I mean, how do you describe your guys' relationship?
Well, it's special. She's taken the time since the moment that she met them to talk to them, to ask about them. When she calls me to see if they can get on the phone, that's really, I mean, the fastest way to a person's heart is caring about their kids.
You would not be going to Iowa and then Atlanta the very next day and spend time away from them unless it was beyond just an event to get the word out. It has to be bigger than that, no? That's fair, but Atlanta, I mean, that turnaround.
I'm going to Atlanta because the Harris campaign asked, but you know.
But not because you're trying to show them what you can do.
I'm honored to be considered, and regardless of what happens, I'll work every day to make sure we elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
To me, he has the qualifications to be a vice president. If Kamala was elected and something happened to her and he had to step up, I would feel comfortable that he could step up and do the job.
And as we travel back to Louisville, there is something to keep an eye on here. We've heard the governor's messaging turn more national by the day. Will that continue? What should we look for? We'll have analysis from experts on both sides of the aisle. That'll be Monday night at 6 o'clock. For now, I'm Isaiah Kim Martinez here in Des Moines, Iowa.
Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance made stops in Minnesota, both holding a rally last night. Trump's campaign has been increasingly focused on Minnesota as a Democratic stronghold. The state has not backed a GOP candidate since 1972. The rally puts pressure on the Harris campaign, likely forcing them to dedicate time and resources to a state they would otherwise ignore. During the rally, both Trump and Vance attacked Harris, calling her evil and labeling her as extreme.
So now we have a new candidate to defeat the most incompetent, unpopular, and far-left vice president in American history.
Targeting Minnesota is also a gamble for the Trump campaign, as it might prove to be out of his reach to win, taking away his time from key battleground states like Michigan and Wisconsin, which the former president won in 2016, but then lost in 2020.